you legends. It is damp this morning and cool. It's around 10 Celsius or so. We're rolling out. We're gonna do our own thing because there's moisture in the air.
On this ride, Paul and I left Northampton. It was kind of a cool morning, overcast. We rolled past the Woodlands. It was damp. It didn't really rain hard, but when the rain's threatening, the groups kind of fizzled out. So we headed out Fish Creek, went out past Honey. We went through Ridge Lake Shores for a bit, and then we continued on to 105 and decided to go do some climbs out in Highland Hollow there. And we came back on 2854, that's on film, back to Leah Drive, and just decided to take Honey, Egypt all the way into town. So we didn't go as far as we normally do because we both had other things going on that we wanted to get back to on this day. But I think you would like the clips we got for you. We're still on Gosling Road in the Woodlands, Texas.
Man, it's slick.
Yeah.
The road is slick.
I feel it.
The pavement is damp from the mist of the fog and just, light drizzle. It rained the night before. Rain and wind and different things been going on. It was a front that came through. Even on Sunday, it knocked down some trees and some buildings in the Montgomery area. So we had our share of inclement weather. And of course, if it's gonna be wet, we don't want to ride with the group because you get sprayed in the face. We got our mud guards on. We had to stop to fiddle with Paul's mud guards. And so you'll see when he takes the lead, I remind him to pull his gilet down because he had lifted it up to get into the pockets to get his multi-tool. Yeah, we'll go ahead and turn. We check, make sure nothing's coming because this light does not really turn for bikes, the left turn. And we had no cars behind us. So if you're gonna do that, you always check. Treat it like a stop sign. This is where I give him the lead. And so when he comes through, then I notice that he didn't pull his gilet down.
Pull your vest is completely up over the pockets. Yeah. On the other side too. You open it up when we're getting in there to get that tool.
Our gilets have zippers, dual zippers, so you can access your pockets by using the lower zipper and pull them up to get in there when we get done now.
That's not lolly red. They call it lolly red, but you're right. It looks more like orange or coral.
He's talking about the visibility of the gilet I'm wearing.
Match. On a cloudy day like this, yeah. We're right about it. The armpits are elasticized. These boys, they're not messing around.
So there's a lot of wind, a little bit, and then the moisture as we ease into this ride.
Got some interest, so some of the stuff I haven't been using, been sitting around.
So yeah, I've been listing. I have a bunch of stuff that I use for these review videos, and I really don't get to wear quite a bit of them. And I go ahead and put it. I have an eBay account.
So they put them on sale?
On the Veloharmony, the name, and I put them on eBay and sell some of the stuff that I'm not using to thin the herd, so to speak. Because there's a lot of stuff I have that I don't really wear all of them. I do a video just hang them up.
Knock out these hours, man.
So I'm discussing with him what our general plan is to just do tempo. At this point, we hadn't decided whether we're going to do hills or not, and then we start to go. We get to Ridge Lake Shores. I ended up having 2 flats on the ride at varying points. There was a piece of wire inside the tread of the tire. And so it was giving like a very little bit of a puncture that would gradually cause the tire to lose air over time. And so you're not sure, is it the pavement or am I really losing air? So Paul, finally, the second one, Paul said, you know what, we got to find out what's going on in there. Because Usually, if I can't find the cause of the flat and the tire's kind of long in the tooth, I just chuck them. But this tire was not old. The tread is still new. And he was like, no, we got to buckle down and find it. So at the later part of the ride, we stopped when we were back near 2978 in Honia, Egypt. We pulled into the daycare parking lot there, and Paul found it. It was a small piece of wire, almost looked like the wire you would have off of your brake cable when they break off, that had embedded itself horizontally in the tire. So over time, it would periodically touch the tube. But then you can't find it when you feel for it. He basically had to fold the tire to find it. And we got it out. So it's one of those things. I hate the flats that are slow leaks, because that means it's something small that got in there, and you really got to look. It was already in the tire. I couldn't see it from the outside. It was on the inside that he saw it. So it wasn't something that happened during this ride. It's been there. It's one of those things. So the adventure of bicycling. So we decided to just ride. I told him tempo, just tap out the rhythm and head out. So on the way, we decided to stop in Rich Lake Shores. They've got some nice climbs in there. I think we did that off camera, but we did film the 8 to 10% climb. We did 2 loops of that in Highland Hollow. And you hear me tell him, like, why we want to do this more than once? Because those climbs, they hurt. But the idea is to climb like you see me doing. Just keep the rhythm going. Whenever I feel like I'm slowing down, I stand to tap out the rhythm. I stand in a slightly larger gear, then I sit down and stay in the same gear, especially if the hill has leveled off or we got a descent. It's almost like you're winding the gear. The day started out around 10 Celsius, and it really did not warm up too much. I'm using knee warmers, and I've got a long sleeve Aero jersey on under my gilet, but I've got a lightweight base layer. So I have 3 layers, but the base layer is like a summer base layer. It's very light. It's hard to get it right, so you have to really put stuff on and walk outside and see what's going on. When I walked outside, it was a bit nippier than they had forecasted.
Yeah.
So I told him, let's turn here, and I wanted to take him down. There's a road called Golden Sage up there. We ended up passing it and then getting back to it on Lake Woodlands Drive. But I told him, let's take a different way, because we always go Flintridge.
Yeah.
Can we get it once before? And then I get my finger in the lens. So it's cool and wet.
Yeah.
That scares away all the other boys, except for the diehards.
Yeah, except for Mo and Jerry, and some of the other guys. The whole weekend they were sending messages talking about.
So we got scattered showers, thunder showers they're called.
They were like, let's wait till the roads are dry. Let's go out at 10 because the roads will be dry. You're still gonna get dirty.
On the back of my head when I can, because
because all that crap from the road,
the raindrops on it,
gets on your bike.
Yeah.
I don't understand why they don't do this. If you want to ride, you really have to keep your schedule. Either you go out there, ride, and clean your bike when you're done. There's no such thing. Wait till the roads are dry, please. You're gonna run into water. The kind of rains we had, there were wet areas everywhere. You can see that right here is kind of dry. So we had scattered showers. I'm putting my glasses on the back of my head because there's just raindrops on it, and you can't see.
This light behaves well.
Yeah.
I don't treat my lens with anything because I don't want to ruin the coating that causes it to transition from clear to dark. We're laughing because there is a motorist that went by. I think that's that guy. He has no lights on. Everybody else has lights on. It's like, dude, it's on the car for a reason. When it's dark like this, you need to turn on your lights, make yourself more visible. What are you saving it for? It doesn't burn more gas. It's just amazing. The light here is very short. So it changed, but then it didn't change for us. So as we get in the middle, I tell them to hustle because it was red for them. Now it goes green as we get across. It never turned green for us, even though it went red.
And it didn't change for us.
Yeah, it went red for them, but never went green for us. That particular intersection, usually it will go green early in the morning. It's pretty good. I love these fenders. I'm glad I got them. Mud guards. I think they're called mud guards on the other side of the ocean. Here, I think they call them fenders in the U.S. They just work.
Outside, I just smile. I'm like, yeah.
And that gilet I'm wearing is breathable and is waterproof, so it will keep the rain off your torso. Since it's a mild day, I'm wearing a gilet. If it were colder, I would probably just wear a rain jacket. But by going with this setup, I don't get too hot. So it's a fine line. You have to invest the time to figure it out. This is Golden Sage. I had wanted us to take that, but we're engrossing conversation. And I just kind of lost track. So we'll get to Lake Woodlands, and then I'm going to tell Paul, let's turn left.
Let's do it.
This is what Paul is saying. Like, whatever you feel like we want to do, let's do it. So we make up our routes as we head out based on our mood. And then we try to find new roads along the same route that we've frequented. So here I'm going to tell him, oh, we should have taken the intersection before. So let's turn left here. This is Lake Woodlands Drive. This street that we're on is called Cochrane's Crossing at this point.
Let's go left.
So I told him, let's go left. Because this will take us to Sterling Ridge. Lake Woodlands Drive is heavily traveled by cyclists. You can see the wide shoulder over there. When it's damp and that guy's running over there, when it's damp, we use the road. It's early in the morning. We just use the right lane. And sometimes you'll get a honk from the other road users. I just make sure I check my mirror to make sure that they're not warning me of danger. And I hold my position. They end up moving over because they think that we're supposed to be relegated to the shoulder. Look at that other one. The lane is clear. He doesn't move all the way over. But because of where we are, he had to move over. The left lane is clear. Nothing wrong with it. We're riding in the right lane because it's more practical. It's cleaner. And early in the morning, you have people running on that sometimes. But I'd much rather stay on the road because it's more even. The pavement is more even than the shoulder there. Now, if this road is very busy, I use the shoulder. But right now, it's not. Yeah, people just need to learn how to share. I've said it before. The roads were here before you got here. They'll be here long after you're gone. Nobody owns anything. You don't even own your home. You don't pay the taxes, they come and take it from you. It's a false sense of security. We come with nothing, we leave with nothing. There's no point in two fleas fighting over the dog they live on. That's the best analogy I can come up with. People get territory over nothing. This is a good route to take. I like it because we're going to get to Sterling Ridge and then we'll head west. We're heading west somewhere. I think it's going to be like a northwesterly direction. I think this is Kirkendall Boulevard.
Yeah.
They're trying to expand certain portions of this road to where it's not one lane. And this is the Woodlands, Texas. So you can just pretty much get a lot of Ks in by staying in the Woodlands, Texas area. The Sunday group called the Sun and Ski Group, most of their rides, they stay in the Woodlands, Texas area, but they do really big loops. You know, you can do like 80 kilometers and still be in the general Woodlands area. It's very big. The township is big enough to where you can do that. In a few kilometers, actually it's less than a kilometer, about 50 yards, we're going to turn right here. I think this is Sterling Ridge. Yeah, this is Sterling Ridge. It's a yield sign, nothing's coming. This will take us past, I believe it's called Carlton Woods Golf Course. And Sterling Ridge goes all the way past a turn circle and then it hits Branch Crossing. So we're finding the most efficient way out of town without doing just Flintridge North like we always do. We try to mix it up. If you look at the light from Paul's bicycle flashing on that gray band on the jersey at the bottom, that's a reflector, that entire band. So when light hits it, it lights up. So you can see the little flickering from his light at the bottom of it. That's as far as it's going. So very visible. And on a day like this, it was perfect. So with the mud guards, when we get back, all we have to deal with is wiping a few tubes and definitely cleaning the drivetrain, because you pick up a lot of grit from the road since the drivetrain is exposed, but you don't get any dirt on your body, under your saddle. You're just clean. Even if it rains, you get clean water hitting you, not the dirty water from your wheels. So these things, I've had them for years and they've been just a great investment. And they're easy to mount once you've got them set up on the bike. I have them set up on this bike and the Colnago. Those are the two I use in the rain for the most part. So I have a more robust bottom bracket bearing on the Colnago and this bike, because the Ultra Torque, the Campagnolo Ultra Torque has what we call an external bearing. And so I got some Kogo. Kogo was the brand, Kogo bearings, and they're sealed on both sides, unlike the OEM bearing that comes with it. They only seal them on one side. So you can see all the people running. So people who want to get out, they get out. They don't let the weather influence when they do stuff. You see the guy on the left across the street there running? You just get the equipment you need and get out there. You're not going to melt. You got a lot of people running early in the morning. You know, these are the people that probably participate in some of the events that are held around the Woodlands at different times of the year. It's a lot easier to stay in shape than to get out of shape and try to whip yourself back into shape. So people just stay consistent. So today we decided to work on hill climbing, just working on, it's almost like a weightlifting session on the bike per se. Cycling is such a great sport for keeping yourself in shape, because you do aerobic stuff as well as anaerobic stuff if you know what you're doing. Paul takes the lead here. This is Sterling Ridge Boulevard. It's going to take us to Branch Crossing in about maybe 2 kilometers, about 1.5 miles.
I like that combination kit, man.
Yeah,
Black and white.
Yeah.
Even the, I know it's perfect for this condition. I like the fit too.
I'll wash it up and I'm wearing it today.
Yep.
Paul's talking about the Souke sport jersey that he's wearing. He really likes the white one. We did a review of it on the channel. It's great for these kind of temperatures.
Paul is wearing a Souke jersey. He loves it. So he liked it so much he wore it on Tuesday and washed it and got it ready for the day. Souke Sports, man. Nice stuff.
It's perfect for cool riding conditions, cool to mild conditions. 10C or higher. It's perfect. Anything colder, you can use it as a mid layer. On days like these, I just put my shades on the back of my head for now because for the most part, you don't have to worry too much about bugs. When there's a lot of moisture out, they don't like being out. Raindrops give them a hard time. This is Branch Crossing Boulevard. We're going to turn right. It's taking us north. We have been going west. I'll go ahead and take the lead here. I like to use this way to get out of town. It's quick. I want to get through the woodlands and get out on the roads less traveled. Not every part of your ride need to be on the rivet, so to speak. Take the time to feel the sensations. At this point in the ride, we had not decided that we were going to do hills. I think we made the determination we're in Ridge Lake Shores. That's why I had the first puncture. So the puncture were hours apart because that little piece of wire was embedded in the tread of the tire but lying flat. It's one of the tricky ones. It's one of those that got past me from the outside because I inspect my tires all the time. I never saw it from the outside when I inspected it. You know, you get these cuts on the tire. I squeeze them to make sure there's nothing in there. And that one had embedded itself in the fiber of the tire, just right next to the Kevlar. It became just one of the portions of the weave in there, so to speak. And it probably took a special kind of movement to get it to flex enough to tap the tube, so you get these little pinholes. And it's a very slow leak. And over time, your tire just gets squishier and squishier. The slow leaks are always the hardest ones to deal with because you always suspect that something's in the tire. The ones that are quick, let's say like a snake eye or something like that, you know, you don't have to look for anything. We just went past Taramont Boulevard. We're heading towards Alden Bridge Lane. So really, most of your training should be what I call in the grain zone to really build a strong base. One thing about the Woodlands, whenever you're out here riding solo, there's always somebody that wants to race you. On Sunday I rode, and on the way back, I get on Research Forest. At the light, this guy stops behind me on a bike. And after we turn to head south on Research Forest, which is a street coming up, I'm doing about 36, 37 kilometers an hour. So that's my pace I wanted to hold. So he comes around barely going faster than I am. He says, hi. So I said hi. And then he pulls on the shoulder because I stayed on the lane because there was a lot of glass on the road. And he barely was ahead of me. He was killing himself. I was watching his body language. I'm like, dude, you know, he was killing himself, arching his back and doing whatever. I just shook my head. So when we got to this intersection headed south, I went straight and he came right. I just continued to do what I was doing because the pace I was holding, I could hold all day in that condition, in that situation. So he was really killing himself. I don't know what he was trying to prove, but you get that a lot. You'll be doing an interval or something and you pass somebody and then they want to lift their pace to keep up with you, not knowing what you're doing. Those are people that don't have a plan for the most part. So I was in zone 2 and he was killing himself to ride faster than me. I just smiled. I didn't change my pace. When you get the kilometers and your fitness increase, it takes more and more effort to raise your zone levels. So you can be really pouring it on and be in a low zone. That's what it's about. I had to change my bar tape this weekend. I have leather tape on the bars and it's been at least 5 years. Definitely got my money's worth. It reached a point where the leather was kind of scuffed. It was time. And I went with them. I used the Brooks leather tape. They just last so much longer. They age well. And they're not slippery. This is Branch Crossing Boulevard. We usually come from the direction on the right when we pick those guys up at Crust Pizza.
Good, my brother.
All right.
Take a break. All right, you legends. We're going to a neighborhood that has some seriously steep climbs to get a bit of a workout. It's a blustery, cool day. We're not riding as long as we usually do today, but we're gonna get the work in.
I believe we're on Highway 105. We're headed east. We're in the city of Conroe, Texas. We're approaching a road called Sapp Road. So on the way back, I was telling him that's the way I want us to go back. The theory was that we're supposed to have the wind behind us, because right now we're going into the wind. That did not materialize to be the case. You will see that because we filmed our return. So you can't count on the wind to cooperate. You start out into it, and as you turn to come back, you don't always get a perfect tailwind, which is fine. That's why you have to pace yourself. There's a lot of debris, and most of it you can't really see. So I stay within a foot of that white lines on this road. A lot of little things, people throw bottles out of their cars and the other cars run over it. They grind the glass down into smaller particles, that kind of stuff. I was surprisingly comfortable wearing this gilet because usually I get hot. That was not the case. The jersey is a bit lighter than the thermal, which is, it's the Aero jersey, so it's lighter. But then I also have a light base layer, the summer ASOS 1 out of 3 they call it. That's what I'm wearing. If it's below 40, then out of 2 out of 3 or 3 out of 3 is what I would wear. So you have to play around with it. You don't always have to wear a long sleeve jersey. So if you wore a solid base layer, let's say 3 out of 3 on a very cold day, say 10C or less, I would wear that with a gilet, and that would probably be enough unless it was going to go below 7 Celsius. So you just have the long sleeve base layer and then have a short sleeve jersey and a gilet over it. This gilet seemed to handle the wind a little better. I didn't get that little bubble in the back of the neck that I get with the other gilets I have. So the fit is a lot more streamlined. And this lolly red color, that's what they call it. It's like an orange or a coral. It's in the same spectrum, red to yellow spectrum, I like to call it. So we're fighting a headwind here, so I'm treating this like a mountain climb. That's why you see my cadence in the 80s. So my legs are working a little harder. So you don't always have to carry very high cadences. So we're going to be approaching Highland Hollow, which is the main drag to this area that has up to a 16% climb. We're not going to do the 16% one today. We're going to do a 10 or 11%. We're going to do that twice, which I thought was crazy anyway. So it's a Paul's idea. I'm like, why are we doing this more than once? It hurt the first time. It's one of those climbs where unless you've got like a 32 or something like that, you really can't sit and spin it very comfortably. So I just go ahead and stand, and you'll see how I tackle it. Our weather patterns here vary so much. You don't get acclimated to any one particular temperature range. So you have to be flexible and you have to keep up with what's going on. Because if you miss it, it can be the difference between a 3-hour ride or a 1-hour ride. So Highland Hollow is the light that we're approaching. We never got a break in the traffic, so we could not get into that left turn lane. So whenever that happens, we try to use this street on the right, which is really, I believe it's for a neighborhood or a small business park. So there's no buttons to push. There's no pedestrian crossing button. So I speed it up here because it does not really look like it's going to cycle for us because there's no car from the other side straight across. There's nobody coming out. So we're debating, okay, what do we do here? Do we go up the hill, do a U-turn when there's a break in traffic? And then we decide, okay, there's a guy that will come up and sit in the left lane in a little bit. So we decide to go left on the shoulder, a little bit against traffic and get behind the guy in the left turn lane. Because you hear Paul say, I don't think it's going to change for us. So there's a guy in the left turn lane there in that white vehicle. So we go down and then we just do a turn when there's a break in the traffic and we get behind him because there's enough of a break coming up after this car. Because there was no button to push on that side. There was no car coming from the other side. So this seemed to be the best thing to get us across. There's nothing to push over there. You know, the layout, these rural roads are not really accommodating a lot of pedestrians. There's not a whole lot of people walking out here, middle of nowhere. So the light changes, we go ahead and roll, and then Paul's foot slips when he's trying to clip in. So I told him, take your time, we've got the light. It always happens when you least expect it. That's what we're talking about. I told him with all the clippings you've done with no problems, when it matters, your foot slips. Like that, you just use the leg that is clipped in and get through the intersection and then put that in after you're through. As soon as we turn, we're on a climb. You see it says 4%, 6-7%. And since we've been on a flat road, I've had my cadence kind of low.
Yep.
And so I'm trying to ease into it because this is not the climb. Look at that, 8-9% already just to enter the neighborhood. Now, if we go straight, it goes up to 16 once we get to a stop sign up there. We'll film it another time. We've done it before on another ride with the group. We're going to turn right here because it's longer and it stays steep longer.
Here we go.
So we're always trying different roads when we come out. I stand because it just feels good. This thing keeps kicking up. Look at the grade. It just keeps going up. So if you have not done the work to stand this long on a climb, your heart rate will spike. We've done so much work that I barely get out of tempo zone. That's what training does. There is no shortcut. You gotta put in the K's. You gotta get them in your leg. There's no easy way. You gotta do the work. You can read all the training books you want, it doesn't matter. You gotta put your butt in the saddle and get out there. You can't be sitting around waiting for the roads to get dry. Just keep your appointment and get out there. Because if you got to go to work at 10 o'clock, you can't wait till 10 o'clock to ride. You got to go out. A lot of racers will ride before work. So you get what you need to ride when you need to ride. So after going through that, I've pretty much had enough. And I think he says we got to do it again. This part of the road is dry, but as we descend...
Why exactly we want to do it again, I have no idea.
Yeah, that's what I'm telling you. Why I want to do that again.
Here, man. Let's just do it.
And that's Paul's attitude. If we're out here, we might as well maximize these climbs, 10 or 11% back there. This is the 16% coming the other way. It is very short, and it's one of these bumps. It's a sprinter's bump. You might as well stand up and just power. It's a power climb. So this guy is going to wait, even though we just got to the, so Paul said, let's go, because he's waiting for us. I thought that was nice, because the road's a little damp, so we took that turn very cautiously. We're going to descend and then go left and do it all over again. This is Highland Hollow Drive we're on. That's the one we turn right coming the other way. So I put it in a cog or two. I think about 2 cogs higher than the first time. And you can see my watts are up versus the first time. It's 400 and something. And my legs are screaming. My lungs are fine. You can see I'm in zone 1 right now. My heart's trying to catch up to get nutrients to the muscles. And by the time it starts to rise up, I'll be done. But my legs are doing the work.
That's what I'm talking about.
So I cannot stress the importance of doing the work, getting a fit, first of all.
Doesn't that feel so good?
I told him there's nothing. Let me see me shaking my head. And then he wanted to go further out. And we had already talked about we're running out of time because we needed to come back. Because he and I both had an afternoon appointment. So I told him we can't go out today. So he said continue to ride. He was going to go right. We usually go right to Longmire Road. And I told him no, we got to go back because we'll be late. Right there he was going to turn.
Oh, I thought we turned there. Huh?
We gotta go back.
I told him we got to go back because we're almost 3 hours out.
So we're gonna go back.
And then we're 3 hours from home. So if we go out, we'll add another 90 minutes. We will be late for what we needed to get back around noon.
Yeah.
So. Yeah, I don't like to rush, so you have to plan your rides accordingly. If you have other commitments, get back on time. Enjoy the ride back.
Uh-huh.
That neighborhood is next here.
Yeah.
I want to go find you. Let's go there.
Yeah,
Okay.
one of the riders that rides with Team RR, Doug Shot, had put a map out at one point. We're waiting for this driver to go. I'm not sure why he's sitting there. We haven't reached the corner. He's just sitting there. And that's a 3-way. It's almost like they don't understand the rules of the road. Anyway, Doug had put a map out that showed a neighborhood to the right. So I told him, let's go check it out. And I think we filmed that. I believe we filmed it as well. So we're going to turn right. And this is how you can find some nice little climbs. The neighborhoods have some steep climbs because they don't lessen the grade like they do these major highways. Because when they're building the major highways wherever possible, they almost, I guess I would call it degrade them. Unless it's absolutely a challenge. But in the neighborhoods, they just pave. So you can get, like you can see where we climbed 10, 11% on that little thing. So if you're doing something like that, you don't want to kill yourself. Just ride the climbs. The effort will come. So we're headed to this nearby neighborhood. It's called Wedgewood or something. We're riding past and I saw this road. I think it's the next one. It snakes up and it curves. It ends up being like 5 or 6%. This is it.
That's the mapping center that did when
dodged. Just like the other one, as soon as you turn, you feel the grade more than anything. So on these climbs that just get there in a hurry to where you go from 0 to 3%, you can see we're at 3% already. I like to stand and put power to the pedals. They had a dog barking. It's like they can't even see us, but they know we're there. It must be the sound of the drivetrain.
5%, my brother. Yeah, man.
So this place is about an hour 40 by bike from where we live. So it's very, very reachable to come and do some loops and then continue our ride. And I found another climb. We're going to have to film that for you all. It is like 9 or 10% and it's twice as long as what you saw today. It's on a dead end road, but it is long. Near Lake Conroe. To return. What he's laughing at is we saw the climb before we turned on this road and it just looked like a wall. You want to just tap out the rhythm. The right said it was dead ending, so I told him let's go left. We're just exploring here. Just a big loop in this little neighborhood. This does not connect to Highland Hollow. We had thought it connected, but it does not. It's a self-contained neighborhood. They're doing a lot of new construction in the area, so the next time we come in the future, we'll come the opposite way. There is a downhill here that's very long. And I think you hear Paul mention this would be a good climb coming the other way. But until they're done building, it's a bit congested and it's got a lot of debris from the construction on the road. You see how quiet it is in these neighborhoods? So you come out and get a good workout. You don't have to deal with screaming traffic. For some reason, we don't have any problems in these faraway neighborhoods. We seem to have more challenges where we live than when we go further out. It seems like we have a high percentage of empty heads that are our neighbors. So we have to aggressively take the road in our own neighborhood. This is the area I was talking about. You can see all the new construction. And so as we descend, we see that, man, this would be a nice climb the other way. So that's how you got to look for little routes. Sometimes close to you, sometimes further out, that you can go and do specific workouts. This would be a nice one to do an uphill sprint on. There's one of the workers here changing his shirt. So we give him room.
That would be a good climb going the other way.
That one, yeah. We're gonna check this out tomorrow. Let's get in.
Yeah.
Get all those cars out of the way.
Yeah.
I told them we'll give them some time when they're finished with the heavy construction. Because you come early in the morning, even after people have moved in, more often than not, the road will be just like this. Most people sleep in on the weekends. That's another reason we like to go out early. Get it out. The roads are lightly traveled, and you have your day in front of you to use the energy from the ride to fuel your day instead of waiting till later in the day. Especially in the winter, it gets dark about 5:30, let's say. So you don't have a lot of hours to play with this time of year. In the summer, we get 3 extra hours of daylight, especially when they do daylight savings time. So we're headed west, and this is Highway 105. We're still in Conroe. Our plan is to take Sapp Road, which is a few kilometers down the road, several kilometers. I'd say probably 3 to 5 kilometers down the road, about 3 miles. So after doing all those climbs, this flat road with a slight tailwind feels like nothing. And because the wind's behind, I raised my cadence from the 80s to the 90s. And it's not a conscious thing. It's just my cadence just goes up for these conditions. When I'm riding in the group, it's a conscious thing. When we're just riding, I just let it happen. Tap out the rhythm my body wants to keep at the time. You don't want to overthink your training. Just go out and ride. That's why I don't look at power. It's just there for you guys. I just ride. I had a coach one time that told me, one day I was in a race and I said, it was back in the day when you had those small cyclo computers with 2 buttons and it just gave you like speed, average speed, that kind of stuff. And I told him my cyclo computer is not working. He told me, he said, well, if you're at the back, you're not going fast enough. If you're at the front, you're going fast enough. Something like that. You know, it doesn't matter what your computer says. You get used to these gadgets. You act like you can't do without them. You don't really need them. That's why I just have the Strava account for the people that follow me so they can know our routes if they want to check them out and so forth. But I don't do anything on Strava. The only way I know about segments is when I ride the area and it happens to be a segment. And then it says, oh, you have an achievement. That's it. I don't seek out segments to chase KOMs and all that. I'm just not into that. I don't use them because I have my data in Golden Cheetah. I do my analysis there. Yeah, that was a hubcap, so you don't want to roll over that. Those things can be sharp on the inside. Cut your tire. Any kind of big piece of metal. You don't want anything that will cause you to call for a ride. At this point, I still have that flint. Well, I call it flint, but it's more like a piece of wire in the tire. And the tire is fine until we get back probably 2 hours later before it gets soft. So when you're having repeated flats, you got to take your time and check the tire thoroughly. We're approaching Sapp Road. It's not very well marked. You kind of have to know it's there. I had checked, the traffic was clear. This is the turn for Sapp Road. I like these quiet roads to get off these noisy highways. The cars are too noisy. So whenever there's a choice of using a quieter road, I seek that out. think at this point we're going to cut to where we get on the other side of Sapp Road at 2854. We noticed that there's a lot of.
Yeah.
And I'm telling him about the sign for this road. You have to know it's there. But we found that the growth, the sprawl is coming out here too. They put up a community. In less than 6 months, they built like a whole village. Because we were just here. There was nothing but trees. And you will see it in a little bit. So about 100 yards up the road. They built an entire subdivision in no time. Because these are the homes that we're used to seeing here. You got one house, and then some trees. And as we turn here, I see an entire, almost like a little village. There it is. That's new. Look at all those houses.
The woods of Conroe.
Yeah.
That's new.
You can see the concrete that they brought up to this road. All of that brand new.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was not here.
They just pop these things up and then you get all the local traffic changes.
And the cars left, but we got room. Come on.
So this is the other side of Sapp Road.
All right, legends.
We're on 2854.
This is 2854, headed westbound from Conroe.
I look a lot fresher than I felt. We have a lot of high-speed traffic on this road. The speed limit is like 60. It has a wide shoulder. So I'm waiting for the cars to go by so I can use the main lane and give Paul the camera. The day has warmed up to 14 Celsius. It's about 56, 57 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's a cool one. So I give him the camera. Get back on the shoulder.
Yep.
This road is not flat. It says 2% up there. It's a drag, and then I expected to have a tailwind. No, it's warmer, so I unzipped the gilet, and this is what I really like about this gilet. Look how it retains its form around my waist, even though the zipper is undone. So there's a lot of creative structure in there. I don't know how they do that, because even the armpits are heavily elasticized to where you don't get wind through there. It really is very form-fitting, and it's very breathable, and it definitely is waterproof. I don't know how they do it. How do you keep water out and still make it breathe? So these are special fabrics that they use. They call it Schlusson. They have a jacket that's also made out of the same thing, which is really good when it's very cold and you don't want your arms to get wet. This is great in cool to mild conditions, but you can also use this with arm warmers that resist water and you'll be fine. I didn't have any challenges accessing my pockets either. Gravel. So this 2854 headed westbound would take us to the Fish Creek overpass that usually connects to McCaleb Road, but because of the new construction where they added 2 lanes going northbound. You have to go under the freeway if you want to get on Fish Creek. We actually go under it and go to Honea Egypt Road, and we end up taking Honea Egypt Road back home after doing our little tobacco road, some little road we discovered. It's an 8% climb. Yeah, it's 3%. I stood up because it just felt better. So I picked this road because I expected to have a great tailwind. That didn't happen. So you can see, if you look at my heart rate, 156 beats per minute, then you look at the power, you'll see 90, 100 and something, whatever. The power is its own thing. The power does its own thing. So with power, depending on what watts you're putting out, it will affect what your body has to do to feed nutrients to your muscles. That's the best way to look at the heart rate. So you have to focus more on how do I feel in this zone as you acclimate. So if you're putting out 300 watts, you got to figure out how long you can hold that for, because you want to make sure that your acclimatization occurs. In other words, if the first time you can go for a minute, then you try it for 2 minutes and so forth and so on, and you continue to do that as you do your intervals. Whether you're doing it with a power meter or not, or you're just using successively harder gears in the same situation, it's the same theory. You increase the time that you can put out an effort, and that's how you get faster. As Le Mans said, it never gets easier. You just go faster. You want to go fast, you got to do the work. So this time of year, I use my heavier wheels, especially on this rainy ride. Heavier wheels, heavier tires. I'm telling Paul that we need to go under the overpass and come around if we're gonna. Because at this point, we're thinking about using Fish Creek to go back. We changed our mind once we got there, and that's the thing about our ride. These guys are always asking, "What are you guys doing?" We don't know. We just get out, and that's what keeps it interesting. Or else you'd get bored. Based on your mood, you just add to the route. But I got a nice surprise hill that I found the day after this ride that I got to show Paul, and we're going to have to film it. It is long and it's steep. So you can see I'm doing the similar cadence that I did on 105 headed east, because this road is a grade. It may say 0, but it's more like 0.5 or more. It's a ninja grade, and then the wind is swirling around. We must be reaching the intersection here. They added a turn lane if you're going south on McCaleb Road. That's the overpass we usually go on. So if you're going south, you can turn right. But if you turn right, you have to go south. You can't go across. They did that to keep the traffic from doing crazy stuff. So this is where I told Paul, let's go to Tobacco Road. And he laughed. So we're going to go straight across. So when you're going across on a right turn lane, you can see where we are. We're treating it as a shoulder. We're right next to the white line. So if anybody's turning right, they're going to have to get behind us. Don't stay to the far right in a right turn lane, because then they'll come on your left and try to turn in front of you. You have to help them make the right decisions by placing yourself properly. You see, as the conditions change, the grade is less, our speeds go up with the same 100 watts, 150 watts, same stuff. That's why you can't worry about speed. Focus on the effort. And right now I'm in zone 1. You know, you see the wind blowing. We were supposed to have a tailwind. This time of year, the weather changes constantly around here. And so your watts will vary based on how smooth you are. So you will see like 130, 105, whatever. As you improve your efficiency, it won't take a lot of big watts to do moderate speeds in certain situations. So you've got to focus on your fit and how smooth you are. You don't always want to be riding at 250 watts just to do 20 miles an hour. You need to train your body to where you can do that same speed with the similar effort using less watts. Save your watts for when it really matters. That's what we train for. Efficiency. So if a smaller rider is going up a climb that's very efficient, he won't need to put out 500 watts. He may only need to put out 300. Whereas the next guy might need to put out more. So your goal is to maximize your efficiency. The train is stopped here. This driver's going to wave us through. The lights are flashing.
He's telling us to go. Come on, my boy.
So this is part of what we did on Saturday. Remember, get your K's in and keep those doctors fired.